The International Committee of the Red Cross, its aim is to address the humanitarian needs of those affected by conflict. An aspect of that is those who have died as a result of conflict. So the ICRC has a forensic capacity to provide advice and guidance to and work with concerned authorities, institutes and actors to help and develop their forensic capacity to address the needs of the victims who have died. So ensuring the dignified and proper management of the dead from the process of when they die through the proper disposition of the dead, and to work with developing structures and programs to competently and in lines with forensic best practice, they exhume, examine, and if possible identify those remains. Beyond armed conflict, the ICRC forensically also engages in respect of disasters, mass disasters. So for example, following an earthquake or tsunami, providing advice to national societies like, for example, the Spanish Red Cross or other similar national societies globally, most recently, for example, in Nepal, in ensuring that remains are recovered and disposed of in a dignified manner. Also other issues that are very prevalent today, for example, migration. So the ICRC also provides forensic guidance and support and reminds authorities of the needs for the centralization of data, for example, on dead migrants. And that could be in countries like in the Mediterranean and elsewhere in the world, to ensure that that information is not lost, but is consolidated in a structured manner.
Okay, so it's more easier for the non-profit organization to talk with the victims or to involve in this process?
I think the role that the International Committee of the Red Cross plays, because it is very much an independent and impartial and neutral organization, one that can act as a neutral intermediary. It allows for dialogue. So for example, in a conflict, the ICRC does not take sides in a conflict. It provides support to all those affected in a conflict, and therefore it allows for us to play often an intermediary role, but for the ICRC it's essentially important that whatever actions we take are in full consultation with all of the concerned parties. We would never act unilaterally. We would act forensically with the consultation of those concerned to ensure that the victims, both those who died and also the family members, are engaged in the process to ensure that the objectives are in line with all concerned.
Okay. So what is the importance of the identify process?
Okay. I mean, identification, not always but often, is an important stage of the process. For the ICRC, we will sit down with those concerned actors and develop a program that can best address those needs in terms of the recognition of what is required, in terms of resources, in terms of a structured program, and can help provide training, develop networks between different concerned practitioners in a region to ensure that identification efforts can take place, but can take place in line with best forensic practice. And that is essentially important to ensure that any identifications that do take place are correct, and therefore the families concerned can obtain the right answer, and that is essentially important. But it is a complicated process, and sometimes achieving identifications can be immensely challenging, and we advocate for an integrated approach when it comes to identification.
You say this is not the main process. What is the main process?
Well, I think it depends very much on the context concerned, and what the needs of the victims are. It may be identification, it may be just ensuring the dignified burial of remains, but it would not be for us to make that decision. It's ultimately for the concerned stakeholders to decide what is important for them in terms of the humanitarian response in ensuring the proper management of the dead, whether it be disposal, or whether it be identification. But that's something that is important for the concerned stakeholders to decide.